Alright, we finna watch this shit called Disturbing Cases that are now solved. I don't know why I thought this said never solved. I don't know why I thought it said never solved.
Laurel Jean Mitchell was a 17-year-old girl from North Webster, Indiana, whose life was tragically cut short in August 1975. Laurel was the middle child in the Mitchell family with an older brother named Bruce and a younger sister, Sarah. She grew up in North Webster, a small town in Indiana where, according to her sister Sarah, safety was generally taken for granted.
I sit there and watch these when I'm like on road trips and shit.
In a close-knit family environment, with parents Richard and Wilma Mitchell providing a stable home life. Laurel was described as a very nice, easygoing person dedicated to church.
I ain't gonna lie, she looked mean as hell. She don't look nice at all. She looked like she was mean as fuck. She looked like she was mean as fuck. Or just like a dickhead. Y'all ever see like them cliche ass 80s type shows where these were the fucking bullies? She looks like one of them fucking bullies.
Portrayal paints a picture of Laurel as a kind-hearted and spiritually grounded individual. Her commitment to her faith was evident in her involvement with church activities and her participation in a traveling singing group. She had recently graduated from high school and had ambitious plans for her future. She intended to attend Ball State University to major in business. On that fateful evening of August 6, 1975, Laurel Jean Mitchell was working her shift at the Epworth Forest Church Camp snack bar. The camp, situated on the north side of North Webster Lake in Kosciuszko County, was a familiar place for Mitchell as she frequented the area for church. As her shift came to an end around 10 p.m., Mitchell left work, declining a ride home from a friend. Instead, she chose to walk, intending to meet her friends at the nearby Adventureland amusement.
That goofy shit. Why would you walk instead of just having your friends drop you off at the amusement park that you was going to? That wasn't very smart, was it? You should have just had them drop you off there instead of walking. Late as hell.
The park was only about half a mile away from the church camp, a distance that would have seemed manageable and safe in the small, close-knit community. The route Mitchell took led her through Epworth Forest. Witnesses later reported seeing her walking in this area, which would tragically be the last time she was seen alive. What should have been a short, uneventful walk turned into the beginning of a horrifying ordeal. As the night progressed, Mitchell failed to arrive at the amusement park to meet her friends. More alarmingly, she did not return home. The Mitchell family had a strict midnight curfew that Laurel was known to adhere to without fail. When she didn't come home by curfew, her parents, Richard and Wilma Mitchell, became increasingly worried. The concern quickly escalated into fear, and at 4:16 a.m. on the 7th,
ain't gonna lie, somebody killed my kid. You might as well kill me too. Cause I'm killing everybody. I'm killing every fucking body. Ain't nobody surviving shit. I'm killing every fucking body. And I mean that shit. You're not gonna kill my kid and go to jail, nigga. I'm gonna blow the jail up if I got to.
7th, Richard and Wilma filed a missing person report with the Indiana State Police. This swift action by her parents set in motion a search that would end just hours later. At approximately 10:30 a.m. on August 7th, about 18 hours after Laurel was last seen, two fishermen made a grim discovery. They found Mitchell's body in the Elkhart River, specifically in the Mallard Roost Wetland Conservation Area in Noble County. An autopsy was promptly performed to determine the cause and circumstances of Mitchell's death. The findings were both tragic and alarming. The medical examiner concluded that Mitchell had drowned, but the circumstances surrounding her death were far from accidental. The autopsy revealed clear signs that
What do y'all think be going through motherfuckers' heads for them to want to be a killer? Like, I always sit there and wonder that shit, because, like, I be trying to figure out, like, you know how, like, evil and heartless and humanless you have to be to fucking kill somebody, bro? Like, to kill somebody is like, that's so inhumane, bro. Like, I get it. Niggas like self-defense and shit like that. Even then, it's like, I think I would feel like shit if I had to kill somebody. Like, I don't know. I just can't live with that shit on my soul.
Had fought especially for her life and engaged in a violent struggle to survive. The evidence of a struggle was apparent in the condition of Mitchell's body and clothing. Her blue jeans were found inside out, unbuttoned and unzipped, suggesting a violent assault had taken place. In addition to her jeans, investigators carefully preserved all of Mitchell's clothing and belongings found on her body. These items included shoes, a sweatshirt, a bra, underwear, and silver jewelry. The meticulous preservation of this evidence would prove crucial in eventually solving the case decades later. As the investigation continued, authorities began piecing together the events of that night. They learned that Mitchell had been planning to meet friends at the Adventureland
think it's hard as hell to be a fucking
This
detective.
information helped establish a timeline and potential route
Being a
that
detective
Mitchell might
gotta
have
be hard as
taken.
hell.
Investigators also gathered statements from local residents who had noticed unusual activity on the night of August 6th.
Yeah, it's more about the
One
trauma
witness,
after that
Catherine
shit.
Flynn, reported hearing a loud
I
car
can't
turn
imagine,
around
like,
next to her
stabbing
property
somebody,
around
though.
10 p.m. More disturbingly, she recalled hearing voices saying something to the effect of, "Let's get her." Another local resident, Frank Overmeyer, corroborated the report of a loud vehicle in the neighborhood, possibly identifying it as an Oldsmobile Cutlass. These witness statements, while not immediately leading to arrests, would later prove valuable in corroborating other evidence and testimonies that
Yeah.
emerged over the years.
I
The
couldn't be
mention
no
of
detective.
an Oldsmobile Cutlass in particular would become a significant detail as the investigation progressed. Based on the evidence gathered, investigators concluded that Mitchell had been abducted while walking from her workplace to meet her friends. They believed she was forcibly taken to the Mallard Roost public access site, where she was assaulted and ultimately drowned in the Elkhart River. Despite the evidence collected and the efforts of law enforcement, the case quickly went cold. For decades, Mitchell's murder remained unsolved, leaving her family, friends, and
But I think it's crazy how like it'd be taking like 20 something years to figure out a case. Like that type of shit it'd be making my mind wonder, because why did it take that long to figure some shit out? Like I would say like after like 3-4 years, usually the only way you would get some shit is like a confession. But like, don't most of these like detectives and shit stop searching for shit or like clues or talking to anybody after like a fucking year or something like that? Because finding some shit out
the
2
entire
decades
Northwestern
later
community
is like
without
insane to me.
closure. In 2019, a significant step forward was taken when Captain Kevin Smith of the Indiana State Police, who had been tirelessly pursuing leads in the case for years, made a crucial decision. He submitted some of Mitchell's clothing, which had been preserved since 1975, for DNA testing to the state laboratory. This decision would prove to be the catalyst that ultimately cracked the case wide open. In February 2020, the efforts of the Police Laboratory Division bore fruit. They generated a certificate of analysis that revealed a crucial piece of evidence. A male DNA profile had been developed from Mitchell's clothing. However,
But, like-
the DNA evidence alone was not enough to solve the case.
But like, you couldn't find DNA and shit like within that first year. Like you had her clothes and shit. Like you couldn't find none of this within like the first couple months for real. Like, were y'all really trying hard enough? I don't know. I feel like me as a detective, like if I can't figure some shit out, I'm gonna stay on the case for like 5-6 years and shit like that. You know, on some real addiction type shit. Cause it's like, I ain't gonna lie, like I don't know, bro. Like I be seeing these movies where niggas be like addicted to the cases and shit, like where they just work the case day and fucking night. I feel like I'd be that type of motherfucker. I'm not gonna lie.
It needed to be corroborated with other forms of evidence and investigative work. A critical component of the breakthrough
Fucking
came
Devin
from witness
has
testimonies. 3
fucking
individuals
flaked.
who were teenagers at the time of Mitchell's murder came forward with crucial information. These witnesses provided statements that linked 2 suspects to the crime based on incriminating remarks they had reportedly made about Mitchell's death over the years.
Devin ass ain't
One
really
of these
trying to play.
witnesses
Bro
was
flaked
Renee
on me.
Sexton. In 2013, Sexton came forward with information.
Sexton
She
is a
recounted
crazy
that
name.
in 1975, when she was 16 years old, she had gone on a date with John Wayne Lehman. After the date at a party, Lehman allegedly made a startling admission to her. He confessed that he and his friend, Fred Bandy Jr., had committed a crime. The details Sexton provided were consistent with the known facts of Mitchell's murder, lending credibility to her account. Another key witness was Bill McDonald. In July 2014, McDonald, who had been a high school sophomore at the time of the murder, told police that Fred Bandy had also confessed to the crime while at a party. McDonald's statement not only implicated Bandy, but also corroborated the alleged involvement of Lehman, further strengthening the case against both suspects. These witness statements were crucial in reviving interest in the case and providing investigators with new leads to pursue. The combination
Confessing to a crime is fucking crazy. You know, that's what I'm surprised more people don't get caught like that, like being drunk and slipping up and saying that shit. Like, I would figure a lot more people get caught up like that. And that's how I've like heard a lot of motherfuckers actually get caught up though. Is like they fucking friend or they homie or something like that say some shit while they like drunk or like not even fried, just drunk. And like, I'm surprised more niggas don't get caught up like that.
Of the DNA evidence and these witness statements led investigators to focus their attention on Fred and John, who were 69 years old at the time.
Damn.
With these new leads, investigators took a significant step forward in December 2022. They approached Fred and requested a DNA sample. The results of this DNA test received on January 13th, 2023 revealed that Fred Bandy was 13 billion times more likely to be the contributor of the DNA found on Mitchell's clothing than any other unknown person.
That's an ugly
this scientific evidence provided an incredibly strong link between Bandy and the crime scene, giving investigators the concrete evidence they had been seeking for decades. Investigators concluded that John and Fred had likely used Fred's Oldsmobile to abduct Mitchell.
Yeah, they look like the type. They definitely look like the type. They definitely look like the type. That shit's sick. That shit's sick as fuck. Cause it's too, yeah. They definitely look like the type. They look exactly like the type. And you know, they was even worse when they was younger.
Access site in Noble County where they allegedly drowned her. With the compelling DNA evidence and witness statements in hand, prosecutors felt confident in moving forward with charges. In February 2023, nearly 48 years after Mitchell's death, Fred Bandy Jr. and John Wayne Lehman were formally charged with her murder.
That's fucking sick. Like, they got away with that shit for so fucking long that it didn't fucking matter. They went and lived their entire fucking lives and died in jail. They lived the rest of their fucking life, the rest of their life, and got to live for free. I'm sorry, them the type of niggas you gotta kill in the worst fucking way. You gotta kill them niggas in the worst way. Like, not even let them niggas just die in prison. You gotta kill them niggas in the worst fucking way.
Gretchen Harrington was a kind and gentle-natured 8-year-old girl living in Marple Township, Pennsylvania in 1975. She was the daughter of Harold Harrington, who served as the pastor of the Reformed Presbyterian Church. The rest of her main family consisted of her mother Ina and several sisters, though the exact number is not specified. Gretchen was a regular attendee of the summer Bible camp jointly held by Trinity Church Chapel Christian Reformed Church and the Reformed Presbyterian Church. She typically walked to the camp with her sisters. However, on the day of her disappearance, she was alone due to a recent family event that required their attention.
Depending on the graphics card you get, you will need to upgrade your power supply. So, probably, there's a chance you might. And you know they fucked up in jail on a regular because inmates don't really fuck with people. Yeah, inmates definitely don't play that shit.
Forward to the morning of August 15th,
they definitely don't play that shit. I love that they don't play that shit though.
Gretchen Harrington left her home to attend a summer Bible camp, a journey she would never complete. This day marked the beginning of a nearly 5-decade-long mystery that would haunt the community and law enforcement alike. Gretchen set out from her home at approximately 9:30 a.m. It was a routine she was familiar with as she had been attending the Bible camp program regularly. The young girl was last seen walking along Lawrence Road wearing distinctive homemade clothing crafted by her mother. The Bible camp program was structured so that children would start their day at Trinity Church for opening exercises. The Trinity Church was led by David Zanstra, who was a family friend of the Harringtons.
Hey, I ain't gonna lie to you. Like, no bullshit. I don't know, because I ain't never been in a situation. 5 fucking decades. 5 decades. I probably wouldn't even want to know what happened after so long. After all that, I probably wouldn't even want to know. I probably wouldn't even want to know.
After these initial activities,
you're gonna need a
the
new-
children were
yeah, you're gonna
supposed
need a
to
new
be
power supply.
transported to the Reformed Presbyterian Church, which is where Gretchen's father
That
was
shit is
for the
fucking
remainder of
insane.
the program. This arrangement meant that
Yeah, you're gonna need a
Zanstra
new
was
power
one of the
supply.
people responsible for ensuring the children's safe transition between the two locations.
Bez,
As
you
the
losing
morning
out on your
progressed,
fucking- you ain't even
concern
texting me
began to
about it, so
grow
bitch,
when
that's your
Gretchen
problem.
failed to arrive at her destination. At approximately 11 a.m., Harold Harrington learned that Gretchen had not made it to either of the churches. He immediately reached out to David Zanstra and his wife Margie, both of whom were involved in the Vacation Bible School program. At 11:23 a.m., David contacted the Marple Police Department to report Gretchen's disappearance. This call, made at the request of Harold, officially initiated the missing person case. In an era before cell phones, social media, or the Amber Alert system, information traveled through a network of concerned neighbors and friends. Robert Jordan, who was 9 years old at the time and attended the same Bible
practically
camp
the
as
whole thing,
Gretchen,
yeah.
recalled the moment the news reached him. He was playing in his backyard when he was asked, "Have you seen Gretchen?" The search was extensive and involved hundreds of volunteers from the local community. Police, firefighters, and civilians combed the area looking for any sign of the missing girl. The search efforts extended into wooded areas, parks, and neighborhoods surrounding Marple Township. During the initial investigation, a critical piece of information emerged. Witnesses reported seeing Gretchen speaking with the driver of a vehicle on the morning of her disappearance. The descriptions of the vehicle varied, with some witnesses describing it as a green station wagon, while others recalled a two-tone Cadillac.
You know what's crazy is like I be thinking about like back in the days, like you watch like you watch like Black Phone and you watch like The Lovely Bones and like you watch all these movies and shit, and it's like, nigga, you wasn't seeing shit. Like if nobody saw this girl get taken, you fucked. And I get, okay, back then I get why you couldn't figure shit out. You ain't got no security cameras. You ain't got no dash cams. You ain't got no air tags. You ain't got none of that GPS bullshit. Like you got mothers and parents and fathers now. They be putting air tags in their kids' book bags, on their wrists, in their pockets, in their jackets. And I understand why, because nigga, back then, nigga, you wasn't getting shit. You wasn't finding, if nobody saw you get snatched up, nigga, you were fucked. You were fucked. Because nobody was going to be able to see you. Nobody was going to find you, bro. Nobody was going to find you, bro. That shit is... Shit.
This discrepancy in witness accounts would later prove to be a significant factor in
What
the
you want, bruh?
investigation. As days turned
I
into
need a yes
weeks,
or no
hope
question?
began
No.
to fade. The community, once bustling with search parties and alive with the sound of people calling Gretchen's name, grew quieter. The initial shock gave way to a deep-seated fear and a loss of innocence for
I
many
don't watch
in the
ba- I
area.
don't watch basketball,
Parents
bro.
became
I
more
couldn't even
protective
tell you.
of their children, and the
I say
carefree
no.
atmosphere
I don't know
that
shit
had
about
characterized
basketball.
the suburban neighborhood was forever changed. The grim reality of the situation became apparent on October 14th, 1975, 2 months after Gretchen's disappearance. A jogger in Ridley Creek State Park made a horrifying discovery: skeletal remains that were later identified as those of Gretchen Harrington. The location where her body was found was several miles from where she was last seen, in a wooded area of the park. The discovery of Gretchen's remains transformed the missing person case into a homicide investigation. The medical examiner's report, while confirming Gretchen's identity, could not determine the exact cause of death due to the condition of the remains. This lack of forensic evidence would prove to be a significant hurdle for investigators in the years to come. In the immediate aftermath of the discovery, law enforcement intensified their efforts to find the perpetrator. They conducted numerous interviews with
So, like, being real, bro, like back in the day, you see what Ted Bundy and all them niggas was like so elite at this because there was no way to track nobody. 50 years later, finding a body that's like decomposed. I don't even know if it was 50 years later, but like all this time where your body is like pretty much decomposed and just skeleton and shit now is fucking crazy. It's fucking crazy. Like the law literally had no fucking chance. Like, them niggas had no chance on finding you, bruh. Like, they had no chance on finding you, bruh. If you got kidnapped, oh, good luck. Have fun. You better be that nigga from the black phone because you're not getting found,
with
bro.
local residents, including
found.
David Zanstra. During his October 1975 interview, Zanstra denied seeing Gretchen on the day of her disappearance 1. However, in a detail that would later prove crucial, Zanstra was able to provide an accurate and detailed description of the homemade shorts Gretchen was wearing that day, despite claiming he hadn't seen her. The investigation also revealed other disturbing incidents that had occurred around the same time as Gretchen's disappearance. A childhood friend of Zanstra's daughter, later identified in court documents only by her initials, reported that she had been assaulted by Zanstra during sleepovers at his house. This information, however, did not come to light until many years later. The same witness also mentioned in her childhood diary an attempted kidnapping of another girl in their class. She wrote, "Guess what? A man tried to kidnap Holly twice. It's a secret, so I can't tell anyone, but I think he..."
This is why niggas couldn't figure nothing out. Because the little kids is keeping the secrets. What are you keeping a secret? Okay, I understand why. Because it was that shit is fucking terrifying. I get that. But like, tried to kidnap her twice? Like, not once, but twice? Like, come on. At that point, as a kid, nah, you can't even blame the kids, though. You can't even blame the kids, because how the fuck the kids supposed to know what to do? That's fucking insane.
He might be the one who kidnapped Gretchen. I think it was Mr. Z. This diary entry, written shortly after Gretchen's disappearance, would prove to be a crucial piece of evidence decades later. However, nearly 48 years after her disappearance, a major breakthrough in the case occurred. On January 2nd, 2023, investigators received crucial information that would ultimately lead to the arrest of David Zanstra. On this date, law enforcement officials interviewed a woman who had been childhood friends with Zanstra's daughter. This individual provided a startling account that shed new light on Zanstra's character and past behavior. She revealed that she had frequently attended sleepovers at the Zanstra home during her childhood, as she was best.
They found and got this nigga 2 years ago, and this shit happened in the 70s. That's fucking insane.
Friends with Zanstra's daughter. During one of these sleepovers when she was approximately 10 years old, she experienced a traumatic incident. She recounted to investigators that she had awakened to find David Zanstra grabbing her in the groin area. This revelation was shocking in itself, but what followed was equally disturbing. The woman stated that when she told Zanstra's daughter about the incident, the daughter's response was a matter of fact. According to the witness, Zanstra's daughter replied that, quote, "He did that sometimes." This casual acknowledgement suggested that such behavior from Zanstra was not an isolated incident, but rather a pattern of abuse that was known.
So he was doing this shit all the time. So he had to been doing this to his daughter too. Or he had to been doing this to all his daughter's friends, because for her to be like, oh, he just does that. He just likes to do that. You know, that's like some shit that she think is fucking normal. What
in his own household. And back to that diary entry I mentioned earlier, it provided a contemporaneous account that linked Zanstra to suspicious activities around the time of Gretchen's disappearance. It offered investigators a new perspective on the case, one that came from within the community and close to Zanstra's own family circle. Armed with this new information, investigators decided to confront Zanstra directly. On July 17th, 2023, a team traveled to Marietta, Georgia, where the 83-year-old Zanstra was living and still working as a pastor. Initially,
a pastor? That just reminded me, there's a fucking movie on, I want to say it's a Netflix or something. I forgot what the name of the fucking movie was, but when I figure it out, I'm gonna let y'all know. It was a movie about a like a news company, like the local papers and shit. But it was about how there were thousands and thousands and thousands of PDF files in Boston that were like pastors and shit like that, you know, in the church. There were thousands of them, and they were being like hidden and you know, like they were being covered up and shit. And like there was thousands. It's a really good movie. It's no action. There's none of that shit. It's literally just like an informative ass movie with the nigga that plays Mark Ruffalo. Please find that movie. I'm telling y'all, that shit was really fucking good, and it was so fucking surprising watching that shit. Cause like it went from believing that there was like 50 of them or a dozen of them to like 50 of them. Then boom, there's hundreds, maybe thousands of them. It's like, what the fuck? Like they really, really do this shit. They really do this shit. Like the church is crazy. The church is fucking crazy.
When questioned about Gretchen's disappearance, Zanstra maintained his innocence, just as he had done in previous interviews over the years. However, the situation changed dramatically when the investigators confronted him with the evidence provided by the woman who had accused him of childhood sexual abuse. Faced with this information, Zanstra's demeanor reportedly shifted. In a sudden turn of events, he began to admit his involvement in Gretchen Harrington's disappearance and murder. Zanstra admitted that on the morning of August 15th, 1975, he had been driving his green station wagon when he saw Gretchen walking alone. This corroborated earlier witness statements from 1975 that had reported seeing Gretchen speaking with the driver of either a green station wagon or a two-tone Cadillac. Zanstra confessed that he had offered Gretchen a ride, which she accepted. In his confession, Zanstra revealed that he had driven Gretchen to a wooded area. After parking the car, he asked the 8-year-old girl to remove her clothing. When Gretchen refused, Zanstra admitted to striking her in the head with his fist. He stated that Gretchen was bleeding and he believed her to be dead. In an attempt to cover up his crime, Zanstra said he tried to conceal Gretchen's body before leaving the area. The breakthrough in the case also shed light on some of the inconsistencies in Zanstra's.
I apologize if y'all hear background noise, nigga. It's hot as hell. Let me open that. That's almost not even surprised Wolf though himself could walk. Damn Skippy. That shit is
statements. In October 1975, when initially interviewed about Gretchen's disappearance, Zanstra had denied seeing her on the day she vanished. However, investigators noted that he had been able to provide an accurate and detailed description
watch that shit. Like, I'm not bullshitting y'all. Like, if y'all get the chance, go and watch that shit, bro. Go and watch that shit. It's not about just random child predators. It's about like the church. It's about the church. That's what makes it even more surprising, is because how often this stuff is you know.
Made shorts Gretchen was wearing that day, despite claiming he hadn't seen her. This detail, which had seemed odd at the time, now fit with his confession that he had indeed encountered Gretchen that morning. Trooper Eugene Trey, who conducted the interview with Zanstra, observed that the elderly man seemed relieved after making his confession. Trey stated, "I don't know if he's sorry for what he did, but this is a weight off his shoulders for sure." Following his confession, Zanstra was taken into custody in Georgia. He was charged with criminal homicide, murder of the first, second, and third degree, kidnapping of a minor, and possession of an instrument of crime. The arrest and charges marked a significant milestone in a case that had long been considered cold.
That shit is tough, bro. Like, I can't imagine just going through this shit and being like, I can't imagine going through this shit with kids.